Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's Sip and Solve. I'm Dan Meter, the Vice President of Solutions Consulting for Experian Business Information Services. My role in Experian is to help our clients in understanding how the breadth and depth of our products and data can help them solve everyday challenges that they face. Today, I'll be walking you through how you can find small business prospects in your consumer portfolio, and I'm going to try to get it done in about 15 minutes. I have my bottle of water with me right now, and I'm going to take a quick swig of it. Try to get myself started here. It's early afternoon here in the Northeast, by the way, and I know that a lot of folks out on the West Coast probably are on their second or third cup of coffee, but I'm pretty much coffeeed out by now. We're in the early afternoon here, so I've got my bottle of water, and I hope you all have something good in front of you as well. So since we only have 15 minutes, let's get right into it. So small business owners and influencers are likely to be found in your consumer portfolio. I think that's probably a pretty easy thing for everyone to kind of grasp onto. But finding those small business owners and influencers in your consumer portfolio provides a great opportunity to cross-sell small business products. And that provides real advantages over cold calling on new prospects. I'll be sharing a case study at the end of the presentation that'll show the potential opportunity that can come from consumer to business linkage. But before I do that, I want to give some background into what consumer and business linkage is all about. So first of all, cross-selling makes economic sense when you do the math. Selling existing customer has 4 to 5 greater probability of closing than a brand new prospect. Plus, from a cost of acquisition perspective, it's far more cost effective to upsell an existing client than to acquire a brand new one. And you can also leverage client loyalty. If you think about it, you know about them, they know about you. And it also gives you an opportunity to reward that loyalty, which could provide greater stickiness with that client and aid in retention. At Experian, we're in a great position to help you with matching your consumer file with our commercial file to find the small businesses, those consumers either they own or the businesses that they're employed by, and listed as contacts of that business. It's important to note that this is a non-regulated process that I'm going to describe because we don't actually touch our consumer files when creating the linkages. Contacts associated with the 25 million plus businesses in our commercial file are the ones we use to match to your consumer portfolio. Now, this is a core competency for us, and we invest a lot of time and money in matching technology that allows us to best target those consumers who are small business owners or influencers within a small business. And once we've identified the consumers that are involved with a particular small business, we can begin to append all sorts of commercial data that we have on those businesses. Data we can provide include firmographic data, which would be address information, sales volume, industry that that business is in, and that could help best target outreach activities. This information can also be used to segment the portfolio to identify businesses within market segments that would be of the most interest to you. And when you add credit attributes, you can also introduce risk factors to help even further segment who you want to reach out to. So how are linkages formed? The process to make the links between your consumer portfolio and the businesses we have in our commercial files is pretty straightforward. And as mentioned before, the most important part of the process really is the matching technology and our ability to bring together those consumers with the right small businesses that they, as I said, either own or they're a contact of. We recommend, by the way, that our clients use only the highest level of match quality to best target the most likely connections between the consumers that you have and the businesses that we have on file. Now, you can always loosen the match if you'd like to expand the number of matches, but of course that comes at a cost, which is an increase in possible false positives that you might end up with. So that's why we always recommend the tightest of match quality. Now, match rates typically run 10% to 15%, even at the tightest match. So the yields tend to be pretty strong, especially if you have a big consumer portfolio. And once we produce that list of small businesses from the matches that we've made, we can start to then append the firmographic data that I described before, We can start to bring in risk data like scores and that sort of thing. All the things that you need to further qualify accounts according to your outreach strategy. So what you see on the screen now is an example of the output that we would provide. So on the left, you see our fictitious client, Jane Doe, who is in the consumer portfolio at 5553 Maple in Long Beach, California. But what we've been able to do is we've been able to find that Jane Doe is actually associated with Westwind Imports at 16891 Zamino Street in Long Beach, California. And we were also, so now we've made this connection, and now we've identified for you a small business that's tied to someone that you do business with on the consumer side. And now we can start to add information about the business. So we've got firmographic information. As I mentioned before, that includes where the business is located, what their sales volume is, what industry they're in. But also, we've also started to bring in risk factors. So you can see that there's a credit score that indicates that this business, Westwind Imports, is actually a low-risk business from a credit perspective. Also, that their payment record is very strong, as you can tell by the days beyond payment terms of 0, which indicates typically prompt payment. You can also get a sense of the capacity. They have an outstanding balance of $745,000, but they also have a recent high credit of $2.5 million. So all this information should give you a pretty complete profile of Westwind. And from there, you can decide whether you want to cross-sell a small business product to that business, again, based on the fact that you have Jane Doe as a consumer. Now, so that's how we do our matching, and that's how we generate the output. That's the output that we would provide when we bring the consumer and the business together, which is pretty straightforward stuff, I suppose. Again, our ability to match is the key, and is really what drives the success of any of these programs. So the question now is, what industries would benefit most? So let's take a look at that. We've listed several here, and if you'll notice, a common theme amongst all of them is that they all have a fairly large consumer and commercial footprint. And we particularly are finding that those targeted to customer loyalty programs do very, very well. Typically, they have very high open rates, which I guess can be expected because the prospect knows that there could be a very nice perk waiting for them in that offer. And then another great example of the cross-sell opportunity not only helps drive new business growth, but again, it can also deliver benefits as a retention tool, as well as for any existing relationships that you might have. So, again, these are the areas that we've seen where there's been the most interest, and something for you to certainly consider as you think about maybe making running a project like this where you can get your consumer portfolio matched up with small businesses. So let's talk a little bit now about the case study that I alluded to at the beginning. This is actually a project that we did with a major credit card company. We engaged with them as they were looking to expand opportunities within their existing customer base, but also to try to they wanted to jumpstart a small business card program. They had a very large consumer portfolio. As you can see there, they had 28 million consumer card holders. But as you can see, we also found a tremendous number of small business owners in that portfolio. We found 17% of the consumer names that they provided actually matched to our commercial database. Now, you can surmise from that the consumer portfolio included a number of small business owners that were using their personal card for business purposes. However, it's important to point out that from a best demonstrated practice perspective, it's best to separate personal obligations from business obligations rather than commingle the two. So this was also, I think, an important driver for this company in wanting to create the separate small business card program, in addition to the potential growth that they could experience from doing that. I also want to point out here that 17% match is very high, and that also only included the highest confidence matches that we had available. So again, as I mentioned before, if you want to make sure that you limit the false positives as much as possible, you really want to focus on the very highest matches, highest quality matches. But in this particular case, as you can see, just focusing on those highest quality matches generated a pretty substantial match rate. So that was sort of the quick tour of consumer to business linkage. I hope you found it interesting. In summary, I just wanted to just bring back a couple of points. One, the ability to identify small business owners and influencers in your consumer file, it really provides a great opportunity to grow your relationships in a very cost-effective way. Adding commercial attributes to those businesses, you'll find will also allow you to refine your targeting efforts to increase response and profitability. And then the ability to match consumers with their small businesses also offers you an opportunity to reach across multiple channels. And we didn't touch on this in the course of describing the program earlier on, but if you think about this and an extension of how you might deliver this, because you now have information on the business and also information, and you also know who the consumer is, you could start to tailor your outreach to try to reach them through both channels, right? So you could look at things like direct mail, of course, but also social media, and mobile might be another example. But you're able to better tailor your messages to how your prospect consumes media both personally and as a small business. So it extends your ability to reach those prospects. So that was really what I wanted to talk to you about today. First of all, thank you very much for spending your break with me. Hopefully I was able to help you better understand how you can find business prospects in your consumer portfolio. If you have any questions or want to learn more about what I talked about today, though, feel free to use the link that you see here to chat with us. That would be, I don't know if you all can see my mouse, but right here, chat with us, the link right here. We'd like you to use that. And if you want to get notified of future sessions, make sure you join the list, which you see right here. So with that, I want to thank everyone very much for your time. Hope you enjoyed your coffee break, and have a great weekend.